Rest away?
No, sir. Anand will start.
Greetings everyone, welcome to Changemakers 20 Summit. We are again having another session under the theme Social Justice and Inclusion with the topic Changemaker Journey of Graduate Scholar Talk Series with the GSTS. It is an initiative, a student-led initiative of Delhi University led by Shamdal College students. Now, I will first introduce few panelists over here. So we have Dr. Manish Karamwar, who is a distinguished academic who imparts knowledge about African history of the University of Delhi's Department of African Studies. His academic journey includes teaching stints at SLCE, which is Shamdal College Evening, University of Delhi, since 2004. With educational milestones achieved at the University of Delhi, encompassing graduation, post-graduation, MPhil, and PhD, he pursued profound research on the subject of African diaspora in India, leading to the attainment of his doctoral degree. His scholarly pursuits extend to the examination of Africans in India and the broader concept of diaspora. His academic contribution shine through his extensive body of work, which comprises 14 published research papers in reputable journals such as Insights of Africa, Africa Quarterly, Indian Journal of African Studies, and Diaspora Studies. Beyond his publication, he has also authored 2 books, presented 21 research papers in various seminars and conferences, and delivered 20 invited lectures. Dr. Karamwar is an active participant in the scholarly community holding affiliations with noteworthy journals like the International Journal of Historical Insights and Research and the Indian Journal of Africa Studies. His expertise extends to being a resource person for the CDHE, SCRT, and KV Kendra Vidyalaya Teachers Orientation Program, exemplifying his commitment to advancing education and knowledge dissemination. Now, he is also working with GSTS as a main collaborator, and we also have 8 moderators from Graduate Scholar Talk Series. Now, I would like to hand over my mic to the moderator of today's session, Ms. Vaishnavi Mishra.
Thank you so much, Mr. Anand. For my introduction, I would like to request you once again to play the introduction video of our initiative, that is Graduate Scholar Talk Series.
आज रात 12 बजे से घरों से बाहर निकलने पर पूरी तरह पाबंदी लगाई जा रही है।
पानी रखो, होठों पे चिंगारी रखो। जिंदा रहना है तो तरकीबें बहुत सारी रखो। राह के पत्थर से बढ़कर कुछ नहीं है मंजिलें। रास्ते आवाज देते हैं, सफर जारी रखो। एक ही नदी के हैं ये दो किनारे दोस्तों। दोस्ताना जिंदगी से मौत से यारी रखो। आते जाते पल ये कहते हैं हमारे कान में, कूच का ऐलान होने को है, तैयारी जारी रखो। ये जरूरी है कि आंखों का भरम कायम रहे। नींद रखो या ना रखो, ख्वाब जारी रखो।
Thank you, Mr. Anand, for playing this video. So now, with our initiative. So yes, there will be obstacles, there will be doubt, there will be mistakes, but with hard work, there are no limits. And it definitely hits hard that success is not just about what you accomplish in your life. It's all about what you inspire others to do. So I believe our journey is all about it for sure. So this is Vaishnavi Mishra, an active member of Graduate Scholar Talk Series, and I consider myself and our whole team that it is our great privilege to present ourselves on such a big platform. And we are very grateful for the same as well. Now, at first, I would like to thank the Changemakers Summit and the G20 for considering us for this initiative. Now, moving further, it's a moment of pride for us that India is hosting the G20 summit this time. G20 is a global summit where India is leading the presidency. And with its theme that is Vasudev Kutumbakam, that is definitely telling us the vast culture and tradition of India that is showing the uniqueness and oneness. Now, further, I would like to thank Delhi University, an institution which has completed more than 100 years of its establishment and provided great platforms to its scholars and professors as well. Now, moving further, let me tell you that today we are gathered here to talk about our initiative that is Graduate Scholar Talk Series, and definitely we are going to continue with this. Now, I would like to begin with the introduction of Graduate Scholar Talk Series. GSTS is a diverse platform. It can't be defined with certain colleges, university, graduate scholar, and definitely not by certain states because it has opened its wing from starting onwards. And let me tell you that we have started this initiative on 7th of February 2021. Yes, you have heard me right. It was peak time of Corona, where nobody know where to go, what to do, especially for students. And they find it difficult to manage their mental stability, And at that time, where GSTS was born. And the man behind this initiative is Dr. Manish Kanwar, who had discussed this idea with the members, and thereafter the execution begins. The belief that we are going to serve a popularly called issue that is socio-education for the society. Now, let me tell you that Graduate Scholar Talk Series is an initiative where students can share their work, their research paper, their topics, their working area, and more importantly, their topics they can choose by themselves. Now, moving further, let me tell you that today we feel very proud and honored that we are facilitating 128 speakers with 128 ideas from different colleges and from different students as well. And let me tell you that it is a continuous initiative from last continuous 128 Sundays. And this is not enough. We have also have a sort of celebration at Conference Center, Delhi University, where presence of certain special guests made it more special for us. Let me tell you that this is not enough. I would like to call my colleague on the stage now to elaborate the topic of procedure of GSTS. So, Ms. Shiva, I would like to hand over to you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Vaishnavi. So, hello everyone. I'm Shiva, an executive member in this platform, GSTS Graduate Scholar Talk Series. So now let me give you a brief about the procedure of GSTS, that how we manage all the things within a week. In starting, we get a Google response, and within a 24 hours, we contact them. And 1 week prior, we tell them that on Sunday they have to tell their objective of their own topic that they have chosen, as we are introducing them as the speaker of next week. After that, there is a practice meet on Wednesday, and we provide them research according to their topic and views regarding it. And finally, we come up with final topic and research with the speaker and the posters that we share it on before the main meeting. So that's all from my side to the procedure of GSTS. To tell you more about it, I would like to call Ms. Samriddhi. Ms. Samriddhi, over to you.
I think the role of GSTS that our platform has played for the in the life of students or the graduate candidates. I think there are 5 distinct and authentic concerns that our platform engages with, and these can very well and precisely and very appropriately serve the purpose of establishing the role or the foundational values of our platform. So I'll just tell you, 5 basic roles of GSTS, or the 5 basic levels on which GSTS has worked. The first one would inevitably be the fact that our platform has proved to be of certain importance on a personal level. We began at a time that was indeed disturbing, not only for the entire nation, but for the whole globe. So the COVID-19 pandemic, was going on, and people were stuck within the confines of their homes. It was at that point of time that our platform started, and it brought people out of their comfort zones. And in these days, when we were very suspicious of ourselves, when we didn't interact much with the society, that was the time when GSTS proved to be a ray of hope for personal interaction. The second level would be the social level, which is extremely interconnected with the level that we discussed previously. Social inclusion was very much fostered by the very ideology of our platform, which engaged students not only from a particular background or a particular graduation background. There was no one linear approach, as we can say. There were multitude of ideas and a kaleidoscopic range of thought processes, and therefore we established a societal connection among all the students who were from different ages, from different universities, different college backgrounds, and all of that. So we promoted a sense of social inclusivity. The third one would be the professional level, and GSTS helped students to gain a more refined version of themselves by helping them with their research skills, by helping them with their analytical skills. And not only this, as my colleagues have already mentioned before, the members of our GSTs have certainly rendered aid to their analytical researches, but also besides that, the students have been mentored by our nation's most eminent professors on Sunday. So that means we have catered aid to improve students on a professional level as well. The fourth one would be the digital one. Precisely speaking, digital would tell that no matter how far we were sitting from each other, no much how distance were we, the distance that were there among us, we were all interconnected, and we were all unified, and we were all connected to share our ideas and thought processes with each other. The last one would be the emotional level. So that would be just to say that over a period of time, we have realized that GSTS is not just an exceptional academic platform, but it is an emotion as well. So the reason behind this is that since the platform initiated, we turned adversity into opportunity. And therefore, since 2021, every speaker that has come forward to our platform holds back a lot of emotions and sentiments that have grown as a result of the unifying thread that our platform made everyone with. So now, next proceeding further, I would like to now call upon my fellow moderator, Mr. Shailendra, to tell you more about the working team of GSTS. So Shailendra, over to you.
much, Ms. Samriddhi. A very good evening to all the virtual attendees present here. My name is Shailendra, one of the working member under GSTS team. Now, one of my favorite quote from Mother Teresa is that none of us, including me, ever do great things, but we can all do small things with great love, and together we can do something wonderful. And it's true because everyone is moving forward, then success takes care of itself. GSTS teamwork has incredibly increased the productivity of its members, social satisfaction within them, and even each person's individual performance. Marking out working member of GSTS, we have Mr. Ajay Gupta, Mr. Shubham Tiwari, Ms. Samriddhi Kanpal, Mr. Saurabh Singh, Ms. Shubhi Singh, Ms. Manvi Saraswat, Ms. Shiva Tiwari, Mr. Manthan, Ms. Vaishnavi Mishra, me and our mentor and founder of GSTS, Dr. Manish Karwar sir from Department of African Studies, University of Delhi. Now, we as a team always embrace the collaboration, flexibility, accountability, empathy, and emotional intelligence within us and in every last one. GSTS team and its each one of members are really committed to their roles, whether it is academically, administratively, creatively, and executively. We do so by convocating the numerous social and bookworm concepts within us, and that's how we get to grips with our speakers from almost each corner of India. The collective beauty of this team is that being from divergent social, fiscal, and regional background, we all work under the umbrella and show beyond doubt that variations can be sustained under social inclusiveness. Another fundamental exposure of this initiative GSTS or Graduate Scholars Talk Series is its multifacetedness. It's so versatile that it has covered speakers as well as topics in almost all the academic streams, from political science to history to philosophy to art and culture to science and technology. It rounded up its 128 wrapped up sessions. It's not always this simple. We faced many hurdles, conquered them, achieved new heights, and since we believe in continuity and change, we will continue with this wonderful team togetherly ahead. For further elaborating about this team, I would like to hand over this stage to Ms. Manvi. Ms. Manvi, it's over to you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Shalendra. I'm Manvi, one of the GSTS moderators, and I would be telling you about the problems we faced. So, if you're talking about the issues we faced, the ultimate motive was to create something productive in COVID times. And you know that itself was a pandemic. So, you see, and from 7th February 21 till here, we haven't lost hope, and we are moving with utmost dedication. The problems we faced, first of all, would be most important network issues and the technological glitches. And you know, our platform has also seen speakers struggling with issues such as floods, health-related problems. But our platform, being flexible, we adjust their talks accordingly. So, you know, there were also some graduates who were speaking for the very first time in front of audience. And they have also given us with positive feedbacks that how the initiative had helped them gain confidence and enthusiasm. We also help regarding the research materials and PPTs because we don't have any language boundary. So it is just for scholars to educate their thoughts freely. If I talk about the achievements, so you know, we had students from IIT Delhi, Jawaharlal Nehru University, Banaras Hindu University, and many more. We even had guest of honors such as Dr. Deepthi Taneja, who is a Joint Dean of Cultural Council, University of Delhi, Dr. Krishna Kumar Jha, a teacher from Mauritius, Dr. Rama Yadav, a theatre actor and director. We also had IS Dr. Amita Prasad from Karnataka cadre. We had Captain Parminder Segal, NCC officer, and Mr. Anup Lathe, who is a cultural head and very prominent actor of Punjabi and Haryanvi films. We have also been telecasted on Doordarshan 2 times. We recently organized the GSTS offline. We organized the 100 GSTS at the Conference Center North Campus, in which very eminent guests such as Dr. Balram Pani, who is the Dean of Colleges of University of Delhi, Dr. Santosh Kumar, the Director of DD News, Dr. Rajni Abhi, the Proctor of University of Delhi, they came. So, we are moving forward and we'll move forward like this only. So now I'll be handing over back to Ms. Vaishnavi.
Thank you, Ms. Manvi. Now, this was all about the first session where we have talked about our initiative, that is Graduate Scholar Talk Series. Now, as we are stepping forward to the second session, where we'll be seeing an interaction between moderator and certain speakers. So for the same, I would like to call upon Mr. Shubham Tiwari. Mr. Shubham, over to you.
Thank you, Ms. Vaishnavi. But first of all, I would like to request Anand to play the video of Doordarshan News. Anand. Then I will start with the discussion.
कोरोना महामारी ने हर एक क्षेत्र पर अपना असर डाला, लेकिन धीरे धीरे हम सभी इस न्यू नॉर्मल को लेकर आगे बढ़ रहे हैं और हर एक क्षेत्र में एक डिजिटल क्रांति को हम अनुभव कर रहे हैं। और इस काम में सबसे आगे हैं हमारे युवा। किस तरह से शिक्षा के क्षेत्र में रोज नए बदलाव हो रहे हैं, रोज नए तकनीक का आगमन हो रहा है, हम सब इसको महसूस कर रहे हैं। आइए आपको लिए चलते हैं राजधानी दिल्ली के श्यामलाल कॉलेज में, जहां पर एक नई शुरुआत की गई। देश भर से स्नातक, देश भर से युवा जुड़े और किस तरह से नवोन्मेष और शोध की एक नई संस्कृति को यहां पर प्रोत्साहन दिया गया, बढ़ावा दिया गया। आइए देखते हैं।
दिल्ली विश्वविद्यालय के श्यामलाल कॉलेज ने विभिन्न पृष्ठभूमि के स्नातकों के लिए एक बेहतरीन राष्ट्रीय मंच प्रदान किया। इतिहास विभाग के तत्वाधान में कॉलेज की हिस्ट्री सोसाइटी यानी साक्ष्य ने इंटरनल क्वालिटी इंश्योरेंस सेल के सहयोग से 2 अच्छी शुरुआत की है। साक्ष्य एक पूर्ण विद्वान बनाने की धारणा में विश्वास करते हैं, जो कुशल पढ़ने, लिखने और बोलने के कौशल का एक समावेश है। 2 पहल, ग्रेजुएट स्कॉलर्स टॉक सीरीज और जर्नल ऑफ कंटिन्यूटी एंड चेंज बाय ग्रेजुएट्स ने छात्रों को एक बेहतरीन मंच प्रदान किया। हिस्ट्री सोसाइटी इस दृढ़ विश्वास पर कार्य करती है कि इतिहास विद्वानों के लिए एक मात्र विषय ही नहीं, हमारे जीवन का एक हिस्सा माना जाना चाहिए।
2021, we came up with the first such forum, Graduate Scholars Talk Series, GSTS, and today we are stepping towards 52nd such talks. And the talks are from different subject, different topics, and almost every parts of India, be it IITs, be it Delhi University, and every institution, they are willing to participate in this.
This is not only an innovative program, it's very creative. It is making use of latest technology purpose. It's very enabling for students. In fact, I hope other colleges take inspiration.
Because he
कार्यक्रम की पहली पहल ग्रेजुएट स्कॉलर्स टॉक सीरीज में कैसे इस महामारी की आपदा को हम अवसर में बदल सकते हैं, इस पर चर्चा हुई। इस पहल ने देश भर से शिरकत कर रहे स्नातक उम्मीदवारों के लिए एक शैक्षिक और पेशेवर मंच प्रदान किया, जहां वे तमाम विषयों पर अपने विचारों को पेश करते हुए बेहद उत्सुक नजर आए।
GSTS यानी ग्रेजुएट स्कॉलर्स टॉक सीरीज ने कोविड जैसे मुश्किल परिस्थितियों में भी स्टूडेंट्स को एक ऐसा प्लेटफॉर्म दिया जिससे वे अपने व्यक्तित्व में एक काफी पॉजिटिव बदलाव महसूस कर पा रहे हैं।
ग्रेजुएट स्कॉलर टॉक सीरीज समाज में एक सकारात्मक विचार के साथ साथ छात्रों को एक स्वच्छ वातावरण भी प्रदान कर रहा था।
If you possess the belief to transform your scholarly ideas into something unparalleled and absolute, then GSTS invites and awaits your responses to be a part of this visionary platform.
इस वार्ता श्रृंखला के दौरान वक्ताओं ने अपनी प्रस्तुतियों में इतिहास, साहित्य, राजनीति, खेल, अर्थशास्त्र, सामाजिक मुद्दों, सिनेमा जैसे जीवंत विषयों की पेचीदगियों को उठाया। इस पहल के पहले वर्ष में 52 कुशल वक्ताओं का भाग लेना अपने आप में एक रिकॉर्ड है।
Bhavani wish very great success with GSTS series, the events of the history under the esteemed leadership of very compact department, and very able colleagues, Dr. Pramod Kumar, Dr. D.N. Singh, Dr. Manish Karambar.
दूसरी पहल जर्नल ऑफ कंटिन्यूटी एंड चेंज बाय ग्रेजुएट्स एक मासिक पत्रिका है जिसे विद्वानों की समझ, धारणाओं और शोध कार्यों को प्रकाशित करने के लिए एक वैध मंच प्रदान करने के लिए लॉन्च किया गया है। इस कार्यक्रम के जरिए छात्रों को नवोन्मेष और शोध की दिशा में अग्रसर होने का एक बेहतरीन अवसर मिला। कैसे वो अपने ज्ञान और कौशल को सटीकता से जोड़ सकते हैं। समग्र रूप से इन दोनों पहलों ने शोधों को प्रस्तुत करने और उन्हें पूरी प्रामाणिकता के साथ प्रकाशित करने के लिए एक मंच प्रदान किया। दिल्ली से गुड न्यूज जज्बा इंडिया के लिए एक खास रिपोर्ट, डीडी न्यूज।
जी हाँ, ये है असल जिंदगी के असल हीरोज जो अपनी क्षमता अनुसार, अपनी प्रतिभा के अनुसार ना सिर्फ खुद आगे बढ़ रहे हैं बल्कि औरों को भी राह दिखा रहे हैं। यही तो है हमारे न्यू इंडिया की शक्ति और आप भी इनमें से एक हो सकते हैं। जरूरत है बस उस पहले कदम को उठाने की। यकीन मानिए, मुश्किल बस पहला कदम उठाना है। बस वो पहला कदम आप उठा लीजिए, फिर तो कारवां बढ़ता जाएगा, आगे रास्ते खुद ब खुद मिलते जाएंगे। इसी के साथ गुड न्यूज जज्बा इंडिया का आज का ये सफर हम यही खत्म करते हैं। मुलाकात होगी अगले हफ्ते इसी दिन इसी वक्त पर। तब तक मुझे मेरी पूरी टीम को दीजिए इजाजत।
Thank you, Mr. Anand Joshi. As we all know, India is holding G20's presidency this year under the theme of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, which is a Sanskrit phrase taken from Mahaupnishad, which means the world is one family, which is nothing but highlighting the path for a sustainable, inclusive growth. Ladies and gentlemen, Namaste, good evening. Myself, Shubham Tiwari, one of the Graduate Scholars Talk Series moderator, and today I'm going to initiate a discussion with our other moderators on the behalf of our past speakers and student fraternity in general on the various topics including environmental, political, economic, and social issues, to understand and to unlock the answers to how to create a progressive and peaceful space for all in a globalized world. So let me start the discussion with Manvi first. Manvi, if any society has to be progressive, then it needs democratic framework. But if we take the examples of few countries which consider themselves as a democratic, but they are hijacked by supreme leader or a party, so democracy on the ground is still a far-sighted dream. So how can we ensure social justice in a society when key democratic principles are being hijacked?
Mr. Shubham, that was really a very interesting question. So if we are taking examples from some countries, they claim that they are the so-called democratic countries. But what we see is that there is one particular party or one particular person who is holding higher offices in the country for many years. So democracy there is just on papers. And a very famous saying of Abraham Lincoln is, democracy is for the people, of the people, and by the people. So just tell me, where are people in it? So, if you're talking about social exclusion, so actually people are excluded in it. Public, they have very limited choice in this matter. So, according to me, I think that public should be more proactive regarding democracy. As our two speakers, one was Amrutha Ravi Shankar, and she talked about electoral democracy, and the other one will be Miss Sonam, and she talked about the noise of democracy. And they both gave the idea that we need to realize the essence of democracy, because I think that somewhere it is getting lost, and people have to just step up beyond their personal favoritism, think about good, or think about welfare as a whole. And at last, as Ambedkar said, and I quote, worship of a god will lead you to the path of salvation, and worship of a leader will lead you to destruction. So that was from my side.
Okay. But Saurabh, don't you think that democracy is not only the part? I mean, with overtime exclusion and the system failure can also contribute to social tensions and violence. And we have the recent examples from our country itself. So where is the major issue? I mean, and how it is creating a hindrance to the growth of our country? Mr. Saurabh.
Once, the violence, the tensions in the Northeast, and the situation in the Haryana also. I think it's quite common that we have some minor tensions, but tensions which are escalated to such scale. I think this represents a historical neglect and as well as the political apathy this section of people have been facing. And definitely these issues are linked to development, and I think there is more than one way to look at this. First can be that, for example, for example, there is a place and people are not satisfied with the development initiative of the government, and also you can say that there is some political gap from the government itself. So when this opportunity is highlighted in the society, it get used by various state and non-state actors, and they started creating a propaganda which these section of people come under, and this fuse into something of a scale which we are seeing just now. And this is a continuous cycle. For example, underdevelopment, both moral and underdevelopment, and at the physical infrastructure level itself, will fuse such type of violence, and then such type of violence will again lead to this underdevelopment. So I think this is a very interlinked issue. And the second way to look at is that underdevelopment is something that we are only looking at an infrastructure level. I think we need to address the moral underdevelopment. I think we need to address the fraternity gap that is there between the peoples, the affected communities. And I think the best way is to address the real problem people are facing. To go there to listen to them. I think it was very beautifully highlighted by Mr. Ali in his talk on youth in Kashmir. So definitely these are issues that we need to talk about. And as I just said, not just infrastructural development, but also the moral and ethical development.
There are a lot of noise. Mr. Anand, can you look at this? Mr. Anand, can you look at this?
हाँ बढ़िया बस होस्ट ही करना है तेरे को किसके सिस्टम से उनके सिस्टम से करना क्योंकि मेरे सिस्टम में मेरा सिस्टम तो उनके साथ भेज रहेगा ना फोन के साथ ठीक है तो किसके सिस्टम से करेगा
हेलो मिस्टर आनंद
किसके सिस्टम से करेगा राकेश अंकल के
आपके उसमें कर जाऊँ उनको उसमें कर जाऊँ
वो मेरे सिस्टम में बैठेंगे
आपके सिस्टम में बैठेंगे मैं होस्ट कर जाऊँगा अब आपको अपने सिस्टम में तो पता ही होगा तो इजी हो जाएगा
hello Mr. Rakesh, can you mute yourself? Dr. Rakesh
होस्ट एक रहना चाहिए एक्सटर्नल
Dr. Rakesh Malhotra, can you mute yourself?
6 बजे के बाद हाँ 6 बजे से हो गया ना मस्त
Dr. Rakesh
है ना इनके सिस्टम से कर दियो
अगर मुझे बोलना होता
इस सिस्टम से कर दियो
अच्छा इसे होस्ट कर दूँ
हाँ ठीक है
Can anyone call
होस्ट बना दे
यस सर आई एम 6 से 10 2 मिनट यही तो हो गया ये सस्टेनेबल एग्रीकल्चर वाला ये सस्टेनेबल एग्रीकल्चर वाला ना इसमें आप कर रहे हो राकेश Okay, fine. Okay, thank you. So let's come to literature first. I mean, literature has a very important role in any society. So Samriddhi, did any speaker of GSTS highlighted the role of literature or how it can serve as a tool for addressing social inequalities and promoting inclusion in society? Ms. Samriddhi.
Mr. Shubham, for your question. And before the introduction, you mentioned a quotation that has been mentioned in the Upanishad. I would also like to highlight one of such, sayings that one of the Upanishads says, which is the highest knowledge is to understand that everything is a part of one unified reality. And what I think is literature has definitely served that purpose to represent the best of our societies or the worst of our societies as well. We have heard this statement that literature is a mirror of society. We have heard this for so long, but I think there is the fact that literature tells us much more beyond the society as well. So if you are asking me what GSTS has provided with in terms of literature and the talks that were organized by our platform, I think one of the most inevitable talks for the same would be a talk by Ms. Shubhi Singh, where she talked about the representation of women in literature and how that representation had remained a much argued and a debatable thought. So through her talk, she provided various ways of understanding in which women's roles and conditions got reflected in the literary works. And she also highlighted how the women represented their own narratives. And thus, in a way, we comprehended the fact of gender inclusivity, which is again a part of society that we are, that we belong to. So that talk in itself, it provided one of a crucial aspect of understanding social inclusivity on an individual or on a gendered level. There was another talk by Mr. Padmanabh Reddy that was centered around the works of George Orwell, and he talked about the basic themes of isolation, loneliness, and despair. So, citing down the examples from much of his seminal works, so there was this thought-provoking discussion on exploring the aspects of government surveillance, manipulation, and the loss of the individual freedom, which again we see is a very contemporary issue today as well. So the talk in itself served as a warning about the potential dangers of totalitarianism and the importance of protecting our rights and privacy, which is very essential in the digital age that we are a part of. So the books that we discussed, the Orwell's works that we discussed today, on that day, they were definitely the ones that made us think. To conclude myself, I would like to say that, I'm sorry for taking a few more seconds. Yes. Both of the talks, I think, or the other talks as well that talked about literature, they talked about, raising a sense of self-consciousness among the readers and among the virtual attendees that we witnessed. So we are currently living in our lives in the midst of several social, political, and personal conflicts. And therefore, I think the talks on literature served perfect purpose to resolve them out. So yeah, that would be my answer.
Okay. I will come to you again. And have more discussion over literature. But let me understand. Today, climate change and global warming is something very alarming, and the world is facing today. So Manthan, but the most affected one are the disadvantaged communities. So how does climate change impact those disadvantaged communities and contribute to social injustice? Mr. Manthan.
Am I audible?
Yes, Manthan, go ahead.
When we talk about the climate change and global warming, we have to understand that climate change is deeply interlinked with the global patterns of inequality. And the poorest and the most vulnerable people bear the brunt of climate change impacts, yet contribute least to the crisis. And as the impacts of the climate change increases, millions of vulnerable people face uneven challenges in terms of extreme events, health effects, food, water, and livelihood security, migration and post-displacement, and loss of cultural identity. Our GSTS 126 by Mr. Dheeraj explained this in detail, where he raised the topics under the title Flood is not a natural disaster. And as you talked about the disadvantaged communities, yes, there are certain social groups which are particularly vulnerable to these crises. For example, female-headed household and children, person with the disabilities, indigenous people and ethnic minorities, landless tenants and migrant workers, displaced person as well as sexual and gender minorities, older people and other socially marginalized groups. And we all know that there are some root causes for their vulnerability, which lie in the combination of few factors, like the geographical locations, their financial, socio-economic, their access to resources and services, decision-making power as well. So nowadays, if we see that poor people and all those disadvantaged communities are calling for more ambitious actions on this climate change. We should support them, and we should understand that climate change is more than an environmental crisis. It's a social crisis, and it makes us to address issues of inequality on many levels. Like example, between the wealthy and the poor countries, between the rich and poor within the countries, between the men and women, and between the generations. So we should also look towards the topic where the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, that is IPCC, has highlighted the need for climate solutions that follow the principles of procedural distributive justice for more effective development outcome. So we can say that climate change has a great impact on these disadvantaged communities, which further leads to
Okay, okay, Manthan. Basically, the point is it widens the gap between the rich and the poor. I mean, environmental problems are not only environmental issues; it creates a social issue in the society. Let's come to the very pertinent question today. India is, talking about the cashless economy. So, Mr. Shailendra, do you think cashless economy is suitable for India, or it gonna widen the gap between the different social classes, Mr. Shailendra?
So, talking about this question is actually very debatable, that whether India is ready to become a cashless economy or not. Keeping the mega cities or keeping the urban or suburban population in mind, we could go with this concept. But when we talk about the rural India, cash is still kind of a king there. They prefer to use cash instead of card payments. The COVID-19 pandemic accelerated the adoption of card payments, with around 82% of all transactions now involving a credit or a debit card. Despite this, users of cash do remain, and this makes it difficult to transition to a cashless economy. There is only 41% of internet penetration in India, according to Pradhan Mantri Gramin Digital Sakshart Abhiyan. And according to a survey held by the National Bureau of the Economic Research, only 57% of the total population of India still prefer cash transactions. We still lack the technology to go cashless. While the initiatives like Pradhan Mantri Gramin Digital Sakshart Abhiyan are working their ways to provide digital literacy, we need easier ways to make people understand its importance and immune them to frauds that go around them. Talking about a cashless nation with respect to megacities, urban and suburban areas seems pretty right. But since 70% of the Indian population consists of rural people and they are still not very much habitual of this cashless concept, we should still wait. We should wait for megacities, urban and suburban, and the rural area to go with the parallel. Like when they all the areas will be parallel, we could certainly go ahead with this particular concept, cashless nation.
Okay, so basically it can be for the urban. I mean, on paper it looking like inclusive in nature, but on the ground reality is something else. Let's
Yeah,
talk
really
about,
different.
okay, let's talk with Ajay and try to understand very important issue these days society is facing. Ajay, racism. Do you think racism and discrimination also have physical and mental health cost? I mean, because we can find the solutions from the problems which are visible to us, but how to the problems which are not, Mr. Ajay?
Okay. So, well, thank you for the question. It's really a pertinent question these days, while that we can face in India as well as in other countries also, racism. So, look, racism starts from here, and when it ends, it goes to here. That is how. So, racism, when it begins with inferiority complex in a person, leading to trauma, leading to depression, and then in the end, suicidal thoughts and all. So we have to look, and the society have to look towards that. While you being racist, is you are differentiating you from other human being. You are talking to other human being. It's just a human being. If it is different, why you have to behave like that there's this superiority complex that you show to other human being, which brings racism into the picture. And when it brings to trauma, then depression, then suicidal thoughts. I would call it racism, and these things are double-edged sword. Either way, you gonna be killed. So, what is better in these days, and what is better, and what is very much needed to be learned by the society is that it is very ordinary, to love beautiful, but it is beautiful to love ordinary. So stop being racist, I would say.
Okay, so let's come to Manvi and try to more focus on this question only. Manvi, we have been the example of United States of America and the atrocities against the blacks, and recently also we have the protest in 2020. So Manvi, do you think the blacks' positions really change in this contemporary world, or it remains same, Miss Manvi?
In one of our talks, as one of our speakers, Miss Chandni, she has also encapsulated very well that about the Black history, especially in America. So from the settlement in the initial crisis and how Juan Garrido, the first African who landed in America, to Barack Obama becoming the president of America. So definitely they have come a long way. But right now, I also think that there are certain measures that need to be taken. And if you're talking about America here, same as I say about India, that we can make various amendments, various laws, but if the mentality of people are not changing, so I don't think so it would be of much change. As recently a campaign was also started, which was hashtag Black Lives Matter campaign, and it was based on an incident when George Floyd, a 46-year-old African American, died in Minneapolis, and he was literally handcuffed and pinned to the ground by a white police officer. So black progress over the past half century has been impressive, conventional wisdom to the contrary notwithstanding. And yet the nation has many miles to go to say that they are free from racism and stuff, And I remember one quote by Thurgood Marshall also. He said in 1992, I wish I could say that racism and prejudice are only distant memory. But as I look around, I see that even educated whites and Americans have lost hope and equality. So, there is progress, but the measure seemingly, I think sometimes they're viewed as an illusion. It is the sort of fantasy to which intellectuals are particularly prone. But I think that it can be solved if both blacks and whites, they understand and celebrate the gains of the past and they move forward with optimism, insight, and energy.
Okay, so what I can conclude from Ajay's and yours answer is that everything starts from here. It is about the mentality. So, Mr. Ajay, Mr. Saurabh, we know the problems faced by women today and the atrocities against the transgenders. We know the steps needed, but it is often said that the change in the mentality is required. So, why this mentality is not changed, or why it is not come yet, Mr. Saurabh?
Are trying to find an answer to. And we have had around more than 3 talks on our platform where we have tried to highlight the issue and try to find the solution to this problem. If I name some of the talks, there was one by Ms. Preeti where she talked about some of the prominent feminists like Simon de Beauvoir, and another talk was by Ms. Siddhi Tiwari, where she specifically focused on the condition of women in Bihar, with special focus on the dowry. Another one was by Ms. Divya. And through these talks, we tried to find this answer to the same question, that how this change in mentality is going to come. And according to me, I think this starts at home. What we are teaching our younger generation. To put my point, I would like to give a hypothetical example, if I may. Let's say there is a family of 4. There is a married couple, there is a boy and a girl, let's say of 5 and 6 years old. Now, if these children witness some sort of domestic violence by the father on the mother, and if they see that mother is not resisting or she is not giving any reaction to this, and this is going on and on daily, I think the boy's mentality when he grows up is going to be that this thing is very normal. Women are meant to be subjugated. And what the girl is going to learn, these are just assumptions from my side, is that women, it's in their fate to suffer like this, and there's nothing wrong if this happens with them. So, as Mahatma Gandhi also used to say that if you want to see a change in the society, bring that change in your home itself. So, I think the change in home is going to bring the change in the society. If I would like to give another short example, a very common situation that we face, that we find the males of the family used to have the food or the dinner, lunch, anything before the women of the family. Now, these small things also matter. These things keep become they go directly to the heads of these children. And I think the thing, again, I will repeat myself, that the change in mentality is going to only come when we do the right things at our home, teach our children the right thing. There is no if and but. There should be a clear demarcation what is right and what is wrong.
Okay. So you, Manvi and Ajay talked about the mentality and start from ourselves. So let me ask you, Samriddhi, being the student of literature, and I can remember one talk from Mr. Vaibhav, where he connects the psychology with mind. So, Ms. Samriddhi, is it important to understand ourselves, I mean, who we are in this digitalization of the globalization era, to understand and to change our mentality for a social inclusive in nature, I mean, society? So, Ms. Samriddhi, what do you think about it? I mean, it is important to understand who we are. It's a very fundamental question for all of us.
It's indeed a very fundamental question for all of us, and a very much talked about question in our current day scenario as well. So undoubtedly, understanding ourselves is necessary, because it, as we all know, it helps us gain the clarity about our values, about our desires, about our strengths, about our weaknesses. It also allows us to make informed decisions, to set meaningful goals, and live a more authentic and a more fulfilling life. So self-understanding also helps us to cater healthier relationships, and to effectively navigate through challenges that we can encounter in any segment of our life. So taking the time out to explore and understand ourselves is an important journey of self discovery and personal growth. And as he also mentioned about one of the talks by Mr. Vaibhav Chauhan, he very rightly pointed out about the awareness about psychology, and he pointed out the various aspects of the Indian and the Western context and the conceptualization of psychology. He talked about how Indian psychology celebrates mental health and spirituality. He, decoded the different Indian traditions and their psychological meanings, and we all came to learn about the essence of mental health. So I think all these reasons, if you combine them up, I think they give us a proper definition of why the need of self-understanding or self-consciousness is important. And to conclude myself, I would just like to quote this statement from Bhagavad Gita, since our speaker, Mr. Vaibhav, also highlighted the Indian knowledge system. So one of the, quotations from Bhagavad Gita says that when your mind is no longer disturbed by the flowery language of the Vedas, and when it is fixed, when it remains fixed in the trance of self-realization, then you will have attained the divine consciousness. So I think to attain that divine consciousness, self-understanding is important. Yeah.
Okay, Samrit, thank you. I will come to you again for one more question. But let me come to Shailendra. And Shailendra, there is one saying on a lighter part that India needs more entrepreneurs, not civil servants. But if we look at the challenges faced by those entrepreneurs in, I think, if you look at the COVID period or mostly in the recession period, so what are those challenges and opportunities for an entrepreneurs to continue with this work? Mr. Shailendra.
Actually, rightly said, we need entrepreneurs because entrepreneurship and the micro, small, and medium-sized enterprises, which are called MSMEs, this sector contribute nearly 1/3 to India's GDP. However, this sector is particularly vulnerable to crises like economic recession or the COVID-19 crisis, let's say pandemic, because they typically have fewer resources than the large businesses. Okay, now the global recession impacts entrepreneurship and entrepreneurs on many ways. Like it impacts them financially. Problems such as working off credit conditions, increase in interest rates, decrease in reborrowing facilities, recall of old loans are some of the financial problems which they faced. They also face the decrease in capacity. They also face change in closure of workshops. They also face change in employment, and then decrease in producer and consumer confidence. But as entrepreneurs and business leaders, Though we cannot afford to give in this doomsday scenario, we must learn how to leverage our position to not just survive in the recession but also thrive. I still remember one of the talk by Mr. Sashank. It was 123rd GSTS talk, how to become an entrepreneur. There he quote a statement by Albert Einstein, and it was a very wonderful quote. If I had an hour to solve a problem, I would spend 55 minutes thinking about the problem and 5 minutes thinking about the solution. Certainly, you face a lot of problems, but then it's that your inner strength or inner capacity which you should use rather than crying at the corner. And certainly, such kind of recessions provide many opportunities as well, such as digitalization, multi-sector collaboration, localization, the rise of the social entrepreneurs, one of the very new concepts. It includes many concepts such as the environmental entrepreneurship and etc. etc. Entrepreneurial well-being and resilience. So these are the some opportunities which such kind of recessions do provide. Yeah, that's it.
Okay, but there are lot many challenges like the regional disparity in the terms of startups. I will come to you for that question, but let me ask Mr. Ajay in terms of gender disparity in the society. So, Mr. Ajay, there is huge gender disparity, and it is often said that economic empowerment to women is an important thing. But let me recite one data for you. Japan, being the third largest economies in the world, is on 125th position in gender gap report out of 146 countries. India, being the fifth largest economies in the world, is on 127th position. So, where is the major issue? I mean, what are some key challenges faced by women in achieving gender parity, Mr. Ajay?
All right. Thank you again for the question, Shubham. So first of all, this setup, that economic setup that we talk about, we need to highly understand the fact that economy is not defining a well-being of a country. It's not. We have to understand that. And that is one reason that GDP concept as a whole has come up in the lot of criticism when they are trying to define the well-being of a society. Here, we will talk about this someday else or maybe at some other day. But you have talked about the gender disparity. You have talked about the largest economies, India and Japan. That's correct. Okay? That's correct. But the issue lies somewhere else. When we talk about Japan, it starts from home. When we talk about Japan, we need to understand that only 6.4% women has this directorial level job in a company, while in India it's 17.1%. It is higher than Japan, but it's less than men overall. You're understanding my point? So it's not, it's not about economy. It's about upbringing of a culture, of a society. Same India, same Japan. They all have that patrilineal, society. So it is obvious whenever you have a patrilineal society, it is but obvious that the women will feel subjugated. And when you talk about these problems that you let me quote some. Underrepresentation is one. Sexual harassment is one. Declining female labor force is one. Uneven access to education, which is a very big challenge in India, is one. Then it's come to college dropouts. Then a very big issue in India, that is child marriage, and the early pregnancies. These are some situations. These are some very grave situational problems which come up to a women when they try to achieve gender parity. So government should come up with some new plans, some new schemes to look after to all these I would say certain issues.
Okay, so let's come to Manvi and understand one more thing. Uniform civil code in our country is a big debate now, and it mostly confined to women's right. So Manvi, do you think implementation of uniform civil code in such a large country is possible? And what groups might feel excluded from this law? Ms. Manvi, if you can throw some light over the same.
Question, especially in this time. So I think actually implementing UCC in a country like India, which has a diverse culture, different regions, religions. So, that's going to be a very tough task. When we think of UCC, we think about challenges only in terms of religions. But we actually exclude one important group, and that will be of scheduled tribes. So, tribal people, they have their own customs, their norms, and their rituals. So, if you're going to implement UCC in a country, then we need to also think that how are these people going to react towards it? As you know, they are very much concerned about their rites and rituals. So, whenever something is going to happen, they're obviously going to revolt. So in my mind, it's duty of the government also, and their primary responsibility, that how are they going to fix these things, taking everyone's viewpoint. When we talk of tribes, certain tribes like of Northeast India, there is Khasi tribes and then Garo Hill tribes, so even Nairs of Kerala, then these are matrilineal tribes and communities. So they have also expressed the fear that UCC may force the patriarchal uniformity on them. Like Miss Shreya also talked about in her talk of Uniform Civil Code recently, and Miss Anushri, she has also spoken about Hindu Code Bill, and both only organize their idea about the same. So if we are talking about the positive aspects also, that why should we implement UCC? So there's a one very important group which is of Parsis. So talking about Parsis, according to the Parsi Marriage and Divorce Act of 1936, any woman who marries a person of different religion, she forfeits all rights to the Parsi ceremonies and customs. So, if this is implemented, so this clause will be removed. Also, in Parsi culture, the adopted son has all the rights to the Parsi culture, but the adopted daughter, she cannot officiate a father's funeral, or, she don't have any rights such as in Parsi culture. So, therefore, I think that if UCC is implementing, so all the religious guardianship and then all the customary laws, they will be common. So I think we should keep that in mind also. And we talk about religions like Muslim, Sikhs, and Christianity. Then we all should know that how are these changes going to impact them as well, and then come on a common ground. So that was from my side.
Okay, so basically religion should be separate from this scenario of Uniform Civil Code, where the debate is mainly lies. Let's come to a documentary and understand with Mr. Manthan. Manthan, this year a short documentary from India has got an Oscar, The Elephant Whisper. It clearly gives a message of awareness to the threat of the elephants or flora and fauna in general. So how do you think a threat to flora and fauna will threaten human existence? Mr. Manthan.
So, first of all, we have to understand that the environment is the fundamental source of all the possible existence on the planet Earth. However, over the recent years, the environment has been exploited excessively, because of which the environmental conditions are becoming worse day by day. Pollution of air, water, and land, mining, industrialization, modern urbanization, whether it is deforestation, release of chemical effluents, and landfills, are some of the major factors that cause the gradual destruction of the environment. But there was a wonderful talk by Ms. Ananya in GSTS 34, where she has wonderfully explained the topic of exploitation of environment and the loss of flora and fauna, where she talked about the deforestation and other environment-related issues. The destruction of the environment and the forest and wildlife is not just a biological issue. The biological loss is strongly correlated with the loss of cultural diversity, and such losses have increasingly marginalized and impoverished many indigenous and other forest-dependent communities who directly depend on these various components of the forest and wildlife, whether it is for food, drink, medicine, culture, or spirituality. And the indirect impact of the degradation of such severe drought or deforestation in these floods, this also hits the poor hardest. And poverty in these cases is directly outcome of the environmental destruction. And we have to understand that the biodiversity or the loss of flora and fauna affects economic system as well and human society as well. Humans rely on various plants, animals, and other organisms for food, building materials, and medicines. And their availability as commodities is the most important to many cultures. And the loss of biodiversity among these critical natural resources threatens the global food security. And the mainstream and traditional medicines can be derived from the chemicals in the rare plants and animals. And thus, lost species represent the lost opportunities to meet the cure. For example, several species of fungi and which are found on the hairs of the three-toed sloths produce medicines which are effective against the parasites that cause the malaria and Chagas disease, as well as the human breast cancer. So I think that it is necessary to conserve the environment in order to protect the wildlife, to preserve the different species. with this exploitation of the environment, and finding out ways to protect the environment for further damage should be the priority. And I think the bringing back the environment to its original state is critically important and is only the solution, and we should work on it. That's my message.
Okay, so basically we have to cope up with this flora and fauna, and we have to find the solution how we can live with flora and fauna and the prevention and the curative part. Let's come to Mr. Ajay, and we were talking about the women. So how can we forget about the abortion and the legal age for marriage for women? So, Mr. Ajay, there is a lot of differences regarding the abortion rights and legal age for marriage of women. Being the differences and the similarities between USA, India, and other nations around the globe, how do you think these differences impact the women empowerment and the reproductive freedom in a society? Mr. Ajay.
Okay, so am I audible properly?
Yes, you are.
So when you talk about this abortion rights, okay, so it's a very sensitive issue again, as I talked related to women, and it has been much persistent in America, but I know gradually and violently will come to India and other parts of the world also, and it will show up its colors soon. But what I would say, this whole issue of abortion is rotated around the women, and I would say that women has a fundamental right to decide what should happen with her body. It is not who should decide that this should happen with you and this should not happen with you. Women are completely independent. Motherhood should not be forced upon a woman, because if motherhood is forced on women, we need to be very much careful about that. That this would not only impact the women but the children who is about to take birth. His or her upbringing will going to affect, because a woman who has not willfully accepted the motherhood and has been put it on herself, so the child will have to bear everything that the women's mental trauma and all. So I would say it's completely, and it should be completely, the choice of women to go ahead with her body. And I would like to quote the Medical Termination Pregnancy Act that recently the government of India has released, and it is some very positive signs in that regard, in which they have given freedom to women to do what she wants is right.
Let's come to Saurabh and understand one more thing. Being in the fourth industrial revolution, Mr. Saurabh, digital divide is a very pertinent issue these days. Post-COVID world, if you see digital divide, especially in the field of education sector. In this regard, how do you think the UNESCO's recommendation on banning mobile phones in school can benefit this or can fill this gap of digital divide? Mr. Saurabh.
Thought about your question. There are two very contrasting, sentences that you use. I definitely agree with the first one that there is a digital divide, definitely, and it has been highlighted in this post-COVID era. There's no doubt about that, and I think the way forward is definitely to strive for bridging that digital divide. Not just wait for the government and strive for yourself. And if you really need anything, I think if you struggle for it, you will have it. And but government is also not sitting idle. They have this Digital India mission. They are trying to fiberize each and every village. 5Gs are also trying to reach each and every corner. And of course, the news of the 2023 for me is that BSNL is yet not privatized. So this is definitely a very good sign that government is trying to make internet reach each and every corner of this country, and that will happen eventually, I think. And for the second part, I think it's a very high time that we come out of that the post-Cold War era that we are just subject of study for the West for their developmental aid diplomacy. There is no guarantee that everything that is suggested by the Western countries is going to work for us. I think for a very simple reason. It's nothing personal against West, but I think their population, our population, their demography, our demography, their literacy level, our literacy level, it's quite different. So I think for every issue, be it poverty or educational problems, digital divide, banking problems, I think we need an indigenized solution for this. And let's take an example of sustainable development goals for a chance, because we have decided that these are sustainable development goals, and each and every country has to achieve this. But we have not taken into account the different diversities in each and every countries. There can be some personalized problems relating to that topic. So definitely there is no harm in accepting it, but indigenizing it before accepting any suggestion would be the way forward to address any social sector problem that we are facing now.
So, not being dependent on the West, we should come up with our own recommendation, because citizens are different, the mental levels are different for students in our schools. Okay, but Samriddhi, let me come to you. Is it not only about the digital divide? Literature has also been diminishing in fourth IR. So, I mean, how do you think these literature is going to hinder the promotion of inclusion in the society? What are the solutions you can suggest, being a student of literature? Ms. Samriddhi.
Yeah. Oh, thank you so much, Shubham, again for a very contemporary question that we are all, struggling with today. So I think in today's digital age, reading habits may be declining, first of all, due to the abundance of digital distractions and the fast-paced nature of our lives. So I think with smartphones, social media, and all the live streaming platforms, it is easy to get up in short, instant gratification. Rather than dedicating time to reading, as you are particularly mentioning about. So additionally, I think the constant exposure to screen times may also lead to the a shorter attention. The attention power is quite decreasing as a result of that. So however, it is important to find a balance between the digital and the real life. And I think you asked about how, in what ways can we actually help ourselves with that. I think it is through the works, like you should set aside a dedicated time for your reading, to disconnect from the digital distractions. And you can be a part of several reading groups that organize reading sessions on several days of weeks, on a weekly or a monthly basis. I would also like to add on to this one word that I recently went through, which is bibliosmia. That means the smell of the books. And that word intrigued me a lot, because I think in a digital age we have completely lost the essence of flipping through pages. What a pleasure it is to flip through pages, to immerse yourselves in the story without any digital distractions. There is something more that books offer rather than the digital platform. So I think that caters A to why it is necessary to include reading habits in our schedule. And besides knowing the fact that we should remember to find a balance between digital activities and reading, so that we can help foster a love for books in the digital age. So yeah.
Shubham, you're mute.
Kindly unmute
Shubham, you're
yourself.
mute.
I'm so sorry. So for the last question, because keeping time limits on our mind, Mr. Ajay, I'm coming to you. And for the last question I would ask you, how can we engage diverse communities or the stakeholders involved in floods, be it the Delhi floods or the landfill sites, in climate and discussion and decision-making process? Because on the paper, being the Gram Panchayat, being the Panchayati Raj system, everything looks very cool. But what is the reality on the ground? How can we engage those diverse countries in the decision-making process? Mr. Ajay.
Okay. So yeah, first of all, I would like to say that the floods that have came in India recently were so grave. I just have these words to say. So again, coming to your question that you have said, how to take all the stakeholders come at one platform and have a discussion. So for that, I would say, Shubham, it all depends upon government. Okay, it all depends upon the will that these people wants to take some action or not. Okay, if I want to, being sitting here, if I want to take an action, if I want to make some change, I will do it if I have the will. Okay, so the people who are like our governments, our panchayats, our MLAs, our MPs, and the people who are living there also, I am talking about citizens, which are very much have a significant role in letting the floods come to a city. Okay, by encroaching the roads, by encroaching certain areas. So if these people have will to come, they will definitely come to a platform, or they will definitely try, to bring some change into their city, into their colonies. Okay. So I won't say, and I won't never suggest a thing that build a platform, come and talk. That would be utter wastage of time. Rather, if you have will, initiate talks. It could be social media. It could be a platform like Graduate Scholar Talk Series, where a young scholar can come and present their views and can do wonders all over. So I would suggest this only, from my side.
Okay. But the last question to Saurabh. Saurabh, would you like to add upon the question? And let me add one more question. Government can do anything, but government cannot do everything. I mean, everything. So what is the role of a citizen of a country? As a student, what is your role in these situations, in the floods and the landfill sites? Mr. Saurabh, would you like to add upon this? Very quick.
Am I audible, Shubham? Am I audible?
Yes. Wow.
Shubham, definitely I agree with Ajay on the various topics that he mentioned, and also with you that we cannot hope that government does everything for us. For a starter, I think we need to be aware, and we as the local people are especially aware in case of a river that what is its floodplain. I think it's our responsibility that we start settling ourselves away from those floodplains. This is for the starter itself. And as Ajay also mentioned it, that platforms like these can be a go-ahead that from where we can spread some awareness among the people. And of course, engaging with the local people. For example, I remember a little bit hazy picture when the tsunami came. The people in the Andaman and Nicobar, the local tribes, they were able to save themselves. Before they got the idea that there's going to be a disaster, a tsunami. So, for example, we can engage with the local people who know some traditional knowledge that the river is flowing and what areas it can encroach. So we can keep that in mind, and definitely not encroaching on the wetlands can be another thing. And of course, I think the society, NGOs, I mean, they have to step up, and they need to spread this awareness among the people that we need flood-resistant infrastructure. And I think these are the points. Ajay has completely addressed the question. Mr. Shubham.
Okay, all right, Mr. Saurabh and Mr. Ajay for the question. So keeping time limits in my mind, I'm gonna stop this thought-provoking discussion here, and I would request Mr. Anand Joshi for the last video to show up, where what our guest of honors think about GSTS. Mr. Anand, can you play this video? Then I will come to Dr. Punish Karangwa.
Sure.
Is an example of how to outdo competition. You tell me one college in Delhi University, including the topmost STFN and SRCC and LSR and Miranda House and Hindu and Anfrad, Richard Legacy, who have done 88 talks on 88 weeks continuously without interruption. So kudos to this. I mean, you have done it.
And you are on the way. And as a teacher, because I'm also teaching somewhere, I could see how students, they have interest in research, but they don't get the platform where they could go, where they could present. So here, I think this is a wonderful platform. This is really a behatareen manch.
And I'm going to encourage my own students to come and join and make it a very fruitful engagement for them as well. So I think it's a great initiative, and kudos to the team who's organizing this.
Thank you so much, and it was a wonderful talk. I'm so happy and so glad that I joined in, learned about you people, learn about what kind of confidence you all graduate are oozing with, especially commendable thought, and thank you Manish ji for convening such a wonderful platform. I hope you have not only 500,000 but even maybe 5,000, 6,000 episodes. I'm so happy with this. Thank you.
Colleges, and it gives you all to be a leader. Public speaking is very important when you want to put your point of view, and like we say these days that one of the very good skill is required to be employability is required, and I think talking, researching, putting your point of view to others, it is a very good thing, and it is better than a debate. In debate only two point of view, and then but here it is a larger group and larger dissemination. I think it's a very good idea, and I think it develops your skill also as a public speaker, as looking into the policy, because it's a very good idea, and I must congratulate Professor Manish on this. to encourage you all like this. Yeah.
ये तो मैं सिर्फ यही कहना चाहूंगी कि मेहंदी जब सहती है प्रहार, बनती ललनाओं का श्रृंगार, जब फूल पिरोए जाते हैं हम उनको गले लगाते हैं.
Right. Thank you, Mr. Anand, for this lovely video. Now we are going to stop this discussion with Dr. Manish Karamwar. So I would like to invite Professor Dr. Manish Karamwar, who is the founder, the executor, and the advisor of Graduate Scholars Talk Series, for a vote of thanks. Sir, over to you.
Okay, so I hope I'm audible. Yeah. So here I'm not going to only give vote of thanks, my remarks, because I sustained myself from last 1 hour 25 minutes. This is not my idea to listen so patiently from last 1 hour and 30 minutes, but really it's a wonderful. So this time to retire, I think retire from GSTS, I think that GSTS is on the very safe hands right now. So really, it's a wonderful to see you all people, be it Manvi, be it Subham Tiwari, Manthan, Rathor, Ajay, Saurabh, Preeti, Sivam, Vaishnavi, and Samriddhi. If I forgot someone, so it's my habit. So, and really, I'm very proud, and I'm surrounded by my few of colleagues and my students in my department, though I'm right now not a part of Samlal Evening College but my most of the time spent with the Samlal Evening College, most of the my teaching career. So somehow I attached with this. So give me 2 minutes to wrap up from Vaishnavi to Subham. And I really it's a proud moment that how Vaishnavi and Subham handle all these things, because I know each and everything about you people, and you know me and my capability and my ideas about GSTS. So this is really right time to step down as a member, because it's a fantastic what you have put forth your ideas, work to develop GSTS and be the platform policy change maker journey. That means social justice and inclusion, this forum and where we are talking about. Okay, so really, and it's heartfelt gratitude to each and every member. Manthan, Ajay Manthan is the last member who joined us as a moderator, and not only 10 of Preeti. I just forget the name of Preeti, and behind the scene, those students who have contributed a lot to build up this platform. And it is my suggestion, because right now I'm not did anything for this program, only I'm here to vote of thanks. So really wonderful. Don't restrain yourself, and don't take out from this GSTS. Give your 100%, and this will be very fruitful initiative in the coming future. I hope right now the main moderator Anand Joshi also like endorse my view. Okay, so thank you very much, each and everyone, and really I'm very happy. So and now the quorum that you invited me for the vote of thanks. So really, good evening, distinguished guests, scholars, students, and all those joining for us Changemaker Summit 20 under G20. So here I thanks to the Changemaker Summit 20. Obvious the Changemaker 20 Summit organized as a part of G20 Presidency of India Civil 20 and Youth 20 Working Group. It's said to be a global platform for young change makers, leaders, and influencers from over 60 countries to collaborate, innovate, and drive sustainable solutions. So here I can little introduce about the G20, though everyone knows about the G20 and the India's initiative. So obviously the G20 or the Group of 20 is a very intergovernmental forum comprise 19 countries and the European Union also. So G20 members currently account for more than 80% of world GDP, 75% of global trade, and 60% of global population. So what is mammoth this forum, that G20? And just like the forum you created, Changemaker Summit, thank you to organizers. The mammoth, the 120 hours continuous working in the 5 days, 15th August to 20th August, and just like GSTS, you these three, G20 in the global forum, the Changemaker Summit 20 in the national forum or global forum, and my initiative GSTS and our initiative GSTS in the national level or the Delhi level. Thank you very much for inviting me, inviting us. So it is honor to address such a complex and diverse audience. I stand here as a founder, as mentioned by the Anant, the one of the member of JCC. I feel with proud and gratitude uh, as I look towards you people and your work and dedication. I would like to express my sincere gratitude to the esteemed moderators who have graciously dedicated their time and expertise to create a platform for scholarly dialogue. The diversity of perspective you bring this summit is truly remarkable. Really, you people are wonderful when you manage each and every ideas and put forward your own idea before the Change Maker 20 summit. And again, I'm thankful to the Change Maker Summit 20 to invite GSTS. Lastly, again, I would like to extend my special word to all those invited, to all those my colleagues, students who are joined us today. You have made us proud and excited, and just give us a youth-driven change. Let us commence this event with the hope that our discussion today will lead to impactful change, forging new pathway and fostering collaboration among nations. May the insights shared during this summit inspire us all to be agent of change of our respective field. And at last, I want to say a few lines from renowned poet Kavi Pradeep, on a few lines. कभी कभी खुद से बातें करो, कभी खुद से बोलो, अपनी नजर में तुम क्या हो, ये मन की तराजू पे तोलो, कभी खुद से बातें करो, कभी खुद से बोलो. So this is the last two lines. कभी खुद से बातें करो, कभी खुद से बोलो. This gives you a better idea to introspect yourself when you are going to do something. So, as Government of India, our Prime Minister, a previous Prime Minister of India, and Changemaker Summit 20 and GSC team. You have parallelly done these things. Kabhi khud se baatein karo, kabhi khud se bolo. So for these words, I'm signing out. Thank you very much. Over to you, Subham or Anand. Thank you.
Thank you. So the mic is over to Mr. Anand, the host manager. Mr. Anand, over to you. Thank you for this invitation. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Manish Karamwar, sir, and thank you, Mr. Shubham Tiwari. I'm really grateful to have GSTS in our platform. You all truly are change makers who are driving change in the society and creating a safe and inclusive environment. And the work you're doing in the institutions where you are making some inclusive spaces for the students to come forward and present their own research and talk about them. I'm really grateful, and everyone here can see that GSTS is coming an inspiration, and they also want to be a part of it. And I'm looking forward for such an amazing more sessions in the future. And I would now request the audience to move further with the other. I request the audience to move forward. And now, thank you so much for the GSTS team, Dr. Manish Karamwar, for coming here for the event. Thank you.
Believe